Senator Cheryl Kagan.
Thank you so much. Some of our Gaithersburg colleagues and constituents may not know Delegate Polakovich-Carr as well as the other two delegates, but let me assure you that she is doing a great job in Annapolis, is very well liked and respected by our colleagues. So I'm Cheryl Kagan, very proud to be the senator for Gaithersburg and Rockville, and I'm pretending here with my backdrop that I am at City Hall with you all, and I'm even drinking my tea out of my Gaithersburg mug. Miss you guys, but I was in regular touch throughout session, and if we can bring up the PowerPoint, my colleagues covered a lot of it, but not all of it, so I will run through very quickly, and I think I'm not going to have control over it, so just we can start. Go ahead, next. So again, we were tested, we were masked, we took 4 tests, COVID tests every week. The Senate was in like phone booths and it was really hard, but we got through it and not one senator got sick, which was really extraordinary. Trying to get COVID tests and mass vaccination sites in Montgomery County was a challenge. I should say that I worked closely, not just with my legislative colleagues, but with council member Sidney Katz, to make sure that we had something local at Lake Forest Mall and then an up-county site for the vaccine. Go ahead. Again, we've talked about some of the relief. There was a package called the Relief Package that helps small businesses, nonprofits, and individuals, and that is making a huge difference. And you will hear more about that. Go ahead. Delegate Polakovich-Carr also talked about Governor Hogan's vetoes. It was, I don't know quite why he vetoes stuff because he knows we're going to override it, but I guess he wants to make a political point or something. But the 10-year blueprint for Maryland's future about our K-12 public schools was huge and is going to make an enormous difference. And as you may remember from my report last year, it's especially important for those who don't have English as their primary language, those with learning disabilities and others. There are a lot of aspects to that package that are going to make a big difference for Gaithersburg and Montgomery County students. Go ahead, next. Police reform took a lot of the bandwidth. The Senate and House, sort of like climate solutions, had a lot of back and forth to try to come up with the right solution. What we passed was not ideal. I'm not sure that anyone was fully happy, but in light of the murder of George Floyd, as well as Breonna Taylor and Freddie Gray here in Maryland, we had to take action and reform our police laws. And Julie highlighted a couple of those aspects. Go ahead. I think you guys probably know that for the last 7 years, I have been working to help Maryland transition to next generation 911. 3 people in my district, including one in Gaithersburg, died when 911 failed. I chair the statewide commission that I created, and now through this session, we have passed 11 laws updating our systems, and they have to deal with staffing, cybersecurity, transparency, funding, and so much more. We are just launching our 4th and final year. It's very exciting, and I'm really proud that Maryland is at the forefront nationally in updating to next gen 911. Go ahead. Kerwin 2.0 is the public school package that I just talked about. Go ahead. Telehealth, I passed a bill last year that helped authorize it, and many of our constituents have found it to be so convenient rather than driving and masking and risking things and waiting in line and parking and all that. It's just easier to take a phone call, send an email, or have a video chat. The problem was that young people didn't have the same access. So I sponsored another bill this year, and once again, it was an emergency bill to allow students through school-based health centers. And there are several of those in Gaithersburg, actually. And it's important for checking in with the students. It's also a way of gauging mental health, dental health, and behavioral and primary health care that otherwise would not be available to our lower income residents. So really important, very big win. Go ahead. Julie talked about voting by mail. So I am vice chair of the Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs Committee. And as Kumar said, it's a lot more. His committee also has more than that. So in addition to education, healthcare, and environmental affairs, we have all election as well as alcohol bills, procurement, local government, and so much more. Election bills were a challenge this year. We did pass some legislation. There were a lot of good bills that died and a lot of important legislation that did not get passed. We are going to probably be coming back next year with some emergency legislation. Delegate Polakovich-Carr and I sponsored a bill together that was a top priority bill for the Maryland Association of Counties, and putting up guardrails and fiscal protections for our 24 local counties and the costs of running an election. Go ahead. The environment Kumar talked about, there were some good measures that got passed. The 5 million trees, buses that won't be polluting because they're going to be carbon neutral, electric buses, that's great, and moving into the future. But it was disappointing that we didn't accomplish more. It was a stressful session. We didn't get everything done that we wanted. Go ahead. Jenny Forehand, my predecessor, you probably remember that she served District 17 for a very long time. She is retired in Indiana, and she worked for many years to try to repeal the Confederate themed state song. Maryland, My Maryland is offensive. It calls Abraham Lincoln a tyrant and a despot. And finally, with racial issues on the front of our mind, finally, and with new leadership in the House and the Senate, we are moving to repeal it. And the governor has indicated that he will sign the bill, which is great. This will finally be in the history books and gone. Go ahead. And I sponsored that bill. Gaithersburg had a lot of funding priorities. I was delighted that we got funding, not just for the Great Seneca Highway pedestrian bridge, but we also got an unexpected last minute $250,000 for Pleasant View Park to help kick off that. The other thing that I want to mention is the issue around the Gaithersburg Fairgrounds, which came up and was quite contentious, actually, as to try to figure out how we could take care of the nonprofit that is the Gaithersburg Fairgrounds without disadvantaging or removing revenues from the city of Gaithersburg. And there was a lot of back and forth and round and creative problem solving with Senator Zucker and Senator King. And ultimately, Gaithersburg is not going to be adversely affected. We hope we did and will help the fairgrounds a little bit as they hopefully return to normal in August with a real Gaithersburg fair. Go ahead. Gaithersburg Book Festival, I don't think I need to announce it here. I think the mayor might mention at some point, but got to have a slide for that. Go ahead. And I am all over social media. I think you all know that we have Delegate Polakovich-Carr and I give out scholarship funding. I am very active through my Senator Cheryl Kagan on Facebook, as well as on Instagram, Twitter, and I have a YouTube channel, and I do weekly interviews with people I find fascinating, and I call it Kibitzing with Kagan. So Congressman David Trone will go live probably next week, and so you can check that out. And with that, I just want to say how honored I am to represent you all. And the mayor is literally on speed dial on my phone, but I think you know I was in touch with many of you throughout, whether that was by email or phone. And I want to, since I see Dennis Enslinger, Tom Lonergan, and our new city manager, Tanisha Briley, I want to give them a special shout out, along with Barbara Zektik, who was always available and responsive. And so great team in Gaithersburg, as always. The mayor and council are great partners. And the four of us are glad to work with you on your priority issues. Happy to take questions.
Cheryl, thank you so much. Kumar, thank you. Julie, Jim, we appreciate all of you. I'm sure, I know I was in touch with all of you during the session this year. We had kind of a roller coaster year, but you guys got a lot done. I feel that our city was very, very well represented. You guys were right there to look out for us. Cheryl, on the fairgrounds issue, you were an MVP. There is zero doubt about this, and finding the additional funding for Pleasant View Park is amazing, and it's just, we're all very grateful.